You know that thought you keep trying not to think? The one that shows up right when you're about to fall asleep, or right when things are going well. What if I lose it? What if I mess this up? What if everything collapses? And the weird part is, you're not even choosing it. It feels automatic, like your mind is protecting you by rehearsing disaster. But here's what most people never realize. When you repeatedly imagine what you fear, you're not just being cautious. You're teaching your nervous system what to expect. You're training your attention to search for proof. And you're quietly building an inner reality that your outer life starts to match. Not because the universe is punishing you, not because you're broken, but because the mind doesn't follow your wishes. It follows your dominant mental image. So in this video, you're going to learn 3 things. Why your brain keeps replaying worst-case scenarios even when you don't want to. How fear becomes a default setting that shapes your choices without your noticing. And a simple method to replace destructive mental repetition with a new internal signal, especially at night before sleep. And if any part of this hits home, do 2 quick things for me. Hit like so YouTube knows to show this to more people who need it, and subscribe. Now let's talk about what's actually happening inside your mind when fear becomes your daily habit. Most people think fear is just an emotion, something you feel and then move on from. But fear is rarely just a feeling. It's a pattern. It's your mind running the same mental movie over and over again, usually without your permission. Here's the key thing to understand. Your brain does not distinguish between something you imagine vividly and something you experience repeatedly. From the nervous system's point of view, both count as real. So when you keep thinking, I can't lose this can't go wrong, I won't survive if this fails, your mind doesn't hear the warning. It only registers the image. Loss, failure, collapse. And once that image becomes familiar, your system starts organizing around it, not consciously, quietly. Your attention becomes hyper-focused. Your body stays slightly tense. Your decisions get smaller, safer, more defensive. You might call it being realistic, being prepared, being responsible. But biologically, what's happening is much simpler. Your mind is trying to create coherence. It wants your inner world and outer world to match. So it nudges you toward choices that confirm what you've been rehearsing internally. You hesitate when you should move. You overthink when you should trust. You miss opportunities not because you don't want them, but because part of you is already preparing for the impact of losing them. And the more often you repeat the same fearful scenarios, the more normal they feel. That's how fear stops feeling like fear and starts feeling like common sense. This is why so many people say, I don't know why this keeps happening to me. From the outside, it looks like bad luck. From the inside, it's repetition. And repetition is how the mind learns.
Now, this is usually where people try to fix the problem the wrong way. They notice the fear, they notice the negative thoughts, and they try to override them with positivity. They tell themselves things like, it will work out, stay positive, think good thoughts. And for a few minutes, maybe even a few hours, it helps. But then the fear comes back, sometimes even stronger. And people assume that means they're doing something wrong, that they're not disciplined enough, not spiritual enough, not high vibration enough. But here's the truth most self-help content skips. You can't override a system by arguing with it. Because fear doesn't live in your logical mind. It lives in your conditioning. Most of these mental patterns didn't start last year or last month. They formed when your brain was learning how to stay safe. Maybe you grew up in instability. Maybe things felt uncertain emotionally, financially, or relationally. Maybe you learned early on that staying alert was smarter than relaxing. So your system adapted. It learned to scan for problems, to anticipate loss, to prepare for impact before it happened. That wasn't weakness, that was intelligence. But here's where it gets tricky. What once kept you safe can quietly keep you stuck, because your mind doesn't update itself automatically. It keeps running the same internal program until it's given a new dominant signal. This is why forcing positive thoughts during the day rarely works. You're planting 1 or 2 good seeds and then spending the rest of the day watering the old ones, worrying, replaying conversations, imagining what could go wrong. So nothing really changes. Not because you failed, but because repetition always wins. And if repetition is the language of the mind, then the solution isn't force, it's timing. There's a specific window of time when your mind is far more impressionable than at any other point during the day. It's not when you're hyped up. It's not when you're forcing motivation. And it's definitely not when you're arguing with your thoughts. It's the moment right before sleep. Right there, when your body is slowing down, when your muscles soften, when your attention drifts naturally inward. At that point, the part of your mind that filters, doubts, and resists starts to quiet down, and the deeper layers take over. This is why fear loves the night. If you've ever noticed that your worst thoughts show up in bed, that's not random. Your mind is more open then, more receptive, less guarded. But here's the part most people miss. That same openness works both ways. Your images you hold before sleep don't just pass through your mind, they sink in. Your system treats them like instructions. So if you fall asleep replaying worst-case scenarios, your nervous system continues to organize around threat. But if you intentionally replace that mental movie, you send a very different signal. Not through effort, not through force, through experience. Here's the key distinction. Your mind doesn't respond to words. It responds to images, sensations, and emotion. That's why repeating affirmations without feeling does almost nothing. But experiencing something internally, even briefly, creates impact. So the practice is simple. Before sleep, no phone, no news, no stimulation. You lie down and you let your body relax completely. Then you create a short internal scene. Not watching yourself succeed, being there. Seeing through your own eyes. Feeling what it would feel like if the thing you're afraid of losing was already safe. Not excitement, not adrenaline, relief, stability, gratitude. Because those are the emotions that tell the nervous system it's okay to stand down. And when you fall asleep in that state, you're not forcing your left change. You're changing the signal your mind is sending all night long.
Now, there's one last piece that makes all of this work. And it's usually the hardest one. After you create that inner scene, after you feel the safety, the relief, the stability, you let it go. You don't check for signs. You don't monitor results. You don't ask yourself, is it working yet? Because the moment you start checking, you're back in control mode. And control is just fear wearing a more respectable outfit. When you trust that a seed has been planted, you don't dig it up every morning to see if it's growing. You live your day. You make decisions with a little more ease. You respond instead of react. And this is how change actually shows up. Not as a miracle, not as a sudden explosion of success, but as better ideas, clearer timing, unexpected openings, different choices that feel natural instead of forced. Your external life starts to shift because your internal system stopped broadcasting threat. And that's the real power here. Not controlling outcomes, not chasing certainty, but teaching your mind that it's safe to move forward.
If you've spent years bracing for impact, being the responsible one, holding everything together in your head, this might feel unfamiliar at first. But unfamiliar doesn't mean wrong, it just means new. So be patient with yourself as you practice this. You're not undoing years of conditioning overnight. You're introducing your system to a different way of operating. And over time, that becomes your new normal. If this message resonated with you, please like this video. It helps more than you think. And subscribe if you want more content like this. Clear, grounded guidance on how the mind actually works and how to work with it instead of against it. You don't need to fear your thoughts. You just need to understand them. And now you do.